There is none like him. When we win, he's our champion. And then we can lose. We always win. He's our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome God, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome God, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome God, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome God, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome God, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome God. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome God. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Great rising as we have gathered together this great Shabbat day, a day to celebrate and commemorate our time of rest. And while we're resting, a time to keep our minds fed, for lack of a better word. Once again, I want to say great rising to you and you, Toda, for being a part of this class on today. I want to say to you once again, stay encouraged, continue to follow along the right way of keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread as we're in the seventh day. I want to say once again, let's continue to hold on and let's continue to do it according to the writings. Once again, I want to say Shabbat Shalom or Shalom Shabbat. This great rising as we've gathered together in a time of study, a time to refresh, a time to refrain from work, but a time also to feed our ruach as well as our minds. And so we come together this great rising. I pray that everyone rested well on last night. I pray that your rest was well and that Abba Yah met you in your visions on last night. As we began, let us start with the Baruch of the Torah, as we do every time we gather. We never ever want to ever not Baruch him for the instructions that he's given unto us, his people. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah,
Baruch Yahuwah,
the Baruch one.
the Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah,
Baruch is Yahuwah,
the Baruch one.
the Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
our supreme one.
our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Who
universe.
selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
giver of the Torah.
giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
our supreme one.
our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
giver of the Torah.
giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will have a reading of the commandments, the 10 Commandments by Apostle Brown, coming from the book of the Devarim, chapter 5, verses 6 through 22.
Aleph. I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Israel from the days of slavery. Faith, you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the hours upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalit, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, honor your Ab and your Ima as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Saying, neither shall you commit adultery. Hey, neither shall you steal. Hey, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bait, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Now let us turn our attention to the book of Yahusha, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. Verse 7 says, only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant command to the right nor to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit a time of confession. Once again, I believe in repetition. I believe that repetition is a way for us to grow and to develop. Verse 8, as I have tailored it once again to fit our time of confession. Read this with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah.
I will not let the scroll of the Torah
Depart out of my mouth.
depart out of my mouth,
But I shall meditate in it.
but I shall meditate in it
Day and night.
day and night,
That I may observe to do.
that I may observe to do
According to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
And then I shall make my way prosperous,
And act wisely.
and act wisely,
And act wisely.
and act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Come on, look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Now take your hand, place it over your heart, and say, Abba Yah,
Abba Yah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yah,
Abba Yah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, one more time. I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It is important to act wisely. Why? Because when we act wisely, we will be successful in our endeavors. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us have another stone, please.
Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, oh, oh. Praises of our King rise among us, let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us, let the power of Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 oh. Let it rise. Oh, 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 oh. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise. Oh, let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise.
Come on, let it rise, let it rise. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. He's worthy of all praise. He's worthy of all esteem. He's worthy of your praise. He's worthy of your adoration. He's worthy of every tear that you cry to esteem him. He's worthy. He is worthy from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. He is worthy, and he is worthy to be praised. Yes, he is. Every day of our lives, we ought to praise him, regardless of what we may be facing. we ought to give him praise. Now let us turn our attention to the book of Devarim, which is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. Once again, I believe in repetition, and I believe it's important that we have a foundation and that we have the writings to help us to secure our belief and to secure our place of growth. It is important that we understand these things, once again, because it is preparing us not just for where we are going, but for where we are. It is important that we stabilize our way of life and that we have belief to stand, and standing and having done all to stand, standing therefore with our loins girded about with his truth. Not just any truth, but with his truth, because there are a lot of things out there that's presenting itself as truth. But the writings give us clarity and give us understanding and give us instructions of what we are to hold on to and what it is we are to believe in. Devarim chapter 6, verses 1 through 18, and it reads, "These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yisrael, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah, power of your Abbas, has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey." Verse 4 says, "Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our supreme one, Yahuwah is a God. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah is our Savior, Yahuwah is a God. And you shall ahaba Yahuwah, your supreme one, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes." Now, I gave the definition, and I'm going to do it again for the word frontlets. This is why we say to bind to the mind. Frontlets is a word used to translate the Ibram word to fall, which means to go around or to bind. We are to regard Yahuwah's instructions for frontlets between the eyes, meaning foremost on the mind. To fall, to what? Bind to the mind. Also to make sure that the Torah is always in our mind. In other words, we're always meditating on it. We're always giving it room to I don't want to say vacillate, but always giving it room to be able to nurture and always have space that we're always meditating on it. We're always thinking about it. We're always ruminating the word. In other words, we're always making sure that there is room in our minds for the word to roam, to bring us to a place to hold fast to it and to be assured and to develop in our confidence in the writings or in the Torah. Excuse me, in the Torah. So this is important unto us. That's why you hear me say right after verse 8, to fall, to what? Bind to the mind. It is important that we allow the Torah to bind to our minds. But when we allow it to bind to our minds, not only does it bind to our minds, but it also becomes a place within our hearts. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It is important that we understand that. Excuse me. Verse 9 says, "And you shall write upon the posts of your bed and on your gates." What are we supposed to write on those? The commandments, the statutes, and his judgments. We are to never allow them to escape us. "And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land, which he swore unto your Abbas, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget." That is a warning. You forget who? Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. "You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you." Verse 14 is very important unto us as a people, because you got to understand, You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. And because there are so many deities and so many powers, and when you hear me say power, it is also referring to deities, talking about other which I don't really use, gods. I don't like to use that term, but at the same time, we understand what it's referring to. There are many that's out there, and for any all shapes, forms, sizes, creeds, and so forth. And so we are commanded not to follow after those powers of the people. For Yahuwah, your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah, your power, be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah, your power, as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah, your power, and his testimonies and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right and great in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas. Once again, when we read this text, we see that Abba Yah is positioning our ancestors and forefathers to receive the land that he had prepared for them, just as he is positioning us and strategically positioning us in our ruach, and also in the natural things, because you have to understand, you cannot dismiss the natural things and say that the only thing that we have is the ruach. You have to understand there has to be a balance. We have also a natural life that we are supposed to give credence to. We are also to give strength to. And so it is important that we understand how to live also in the flesh. And when I say flesh, I'm talking about this. I'm not talking about living carnally. I'm talking about residing in this body, which is flesh. But we go not after the flesh, but we go after the ruach. So it's important that we know how to live a balanced life, a life that says balance.
Right.
It's important that we understand that. And this is what Abba Yah was teaching us, and still does teach us through the writings. And it is so. And it is so. All right, let us have a song, please.
Yeah, you are awesome. Yeah, you are great. Yeah, you are worthy. You're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy, and you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All you are worthy, and you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome.
Yes, he is.
God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
God, you are awesome.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
God, you are great.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace. God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
God, you are awesome. God, you are great. God, you are worthy. And you're worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heavens and the earth will proclaim your grace.
Come on, praise him, praise him, praise him. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You're great, you're great, you're great. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You're great, you're great, you're great. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, he's great, he's great. Hallelujah, you're great, you're great. Hallelujah, hallelujah. He's awesome and he's worthy to be praised. I'll magnify your name. All heaven and earth shall proclaim your great. I'm in that choir. What about you? He's great. He's great. He's great. He's great. Every day we rise, we ought to know that he's great. Every night we lay our heads down, we ought to know that he is great and that there is none above him. We know that he is awesome. And we know it every day of our lives that we wake up. Every day, regardless of what we see and regardless of what, once again, we may be facing, he is still awesome. And there is none greater than him. That is why we praise him the way we do. And we really need to give him a greater praise because of what he's done and what he continues to do in our lives. as he continues to keep us, as he continues to allow his mysteries and revelations to be brought forth and to give us an insight and a peek into the writings, the mysteries. As he continues to unfold and unravel the mysteries and revelations of the writings, it is important that we give him praise and we give him esteem for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do in our lives. We appreciate him for all that he's doing. We appreciate him for all that he's done. And it is so. And it is so. Come on, praise him again. Hallelujah. 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 Worthy, worthy, worthy. You're worthy. The song says, when I think of the goodness of Abba Yah and all that he's done for me, my very soul cries out, hallelujah. I told Abba Yah for saving me. We know how it goes in Christianity. So, we know how to put it in the right context. We appreciate him. I do. I appreciate him for salvation. I appreciate him for saving me out of error, saving me and bringing me into his marvelous truth. Once again, we ought to never slack our mouth when it comes to praising. We ought to never get tired of praising him. We ought to never tire or get bored of giving him thanks for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do in our lives.
That's right.
Are you understanding? Because you have to understand, praise can be a weapon. People say praise is my weapon. Truth is my weapon.
That's right.
Truth is my weapon. But praise helps to support truth. Because when we praise him, we are acknowledging that we give him our all.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
See, because praise helps us. It helps us. It really does. To give him praise says that we trust him. It says we trust him. And I trust him. I trust him with my whole heart. I trust him with everything in me because he's never failed me and he will never fail me. And so when you have that confidence, you can praise him even when it looks like all hell breaking loose and you don't have nothing to stand on but a teeny tiny piece. But you better know that teeny tiny piece, as long as you know you're standing in Abba Yah, that teeny tiny piece won't give way. Because he will uphold us and he will secure us if we trust him. And I do. I trust him with my whole heart. And so once again, it's important that we praise him. Praise is calmly for the upright. That means it shouldn't be a strain. That means it's normal. We wake up. It's normal for us to just holler out hallelujah or praise you, Abba Yah. We thank you for your son, Yahushua Hamashiach. It's nothing unusual. It shouldn't be. It should be common to us because we have that relationship with him. And in that relationship, we're building that bond that can't be broken and can't be severed. Are you hearing me on today?
Yes.
It's important that we do so. It's very important that we do so. Tehillim 15:8 says, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination. Hate one exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yah, but the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Mishlei 3:4, so shall you find great understanding and high esteem in the sight or judgment of man and of Yahuwah and man. Excuse me. Tehillim 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yah. Ibram 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so. Tehillim 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth, and delivereth us out of all our troubles. And it is so. Acts 1:8, but we shall receive power after that. The Ruach HaKodesh is come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and Shamar and unto the uttermost part of the earth. So where are we? The uttermost part of the earth. Are you hearing me? We're not in Samaria. We're not in Judea. So where are we? In the uttermost parts of the earth. We're somewhere else. But we are still to be what? A witness. Ayah 33:4, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again. He's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Yes, he is. Micah 4:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yisrael his sin. And it is so.
It is so.
Yehukin and Moshe 11:24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. That is a promise. Yehukin and Aleph chapter 5, verse 4 and 5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world but he that believeth that Yahushua is the son of Yahuwah? Always remember that is a question at the end. Yehukin and Aleph chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. But whoever keeps his Torah, truly the Ahava of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 6, he who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked. That is important, because how can we say we are his if we don't strive to walk and to be as he was and as he still is? He's not dead. He's seated at the right hand of the Abba. Verse 17, and the world passes away and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again, abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us have another song, please.
I thank ya for saving me. I thank ya for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank ya for saving me. I thank ya for saving me. I thank ya for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for keeping me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for keeping me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for holding me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for holding me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. I thank God for saving me. You know my soul cries out, hallelujah. I thank God for saving me. Come on, praise Him for salvation. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Bless Him for salvation today. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We appreciate Him for salvation. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 13 through 22, and it reads, "And it shall come to pass, if you listen carefully to my commandments, which I command you this day, to Ahab Yahuwah your power, and to serve Him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in its due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. And then Yahuwah's wrath be ignited against you.
And he shut up Shemayim that there be no rain, and the land yield not her fruit, unless you perish quickly from off the great land which Yahuwah gives you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall, to bind to the mind. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your bed, upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children, and the land which Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas to give them as the days of Shemayim upon the earth. And if you shall carefully keep all these commandments, which I command you, to do them to Ahab, Yahuwah, your power, to walk in all his halakha, and to cling unto him. Once again, verse 23 summed up in one word: he will give us the victory. He will give us the victory. Somebody may be wondering, how do we write them upon the doorposts of our bed and upon our gates? In other words, you make sure that the Torah is lived and it is respected in your home and around your home. That is how you ensure that it is posted in your home. Now, we have the mezuzah, which they used. It's a piece that they would put the Torah portions in, and they carved it out, and that's what they would post upon the frame of their home. We know that I'm not against it because I have one, but I do believe if you just have it posted but you're not living by it, it still doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But I believe that if you have it posted and you have it, that basically what it is saying is that you are living according to the Torah's instructions, and that it is reverenced and revered in your home, and not just in your home, but wherever your boundaries are, your gates, that is also where it is reverenced and revered. So this is what it means when it says that we are to put these things up as well. So we want to make sure that even around our home, especially what is ours, that the Torah is being respected and it is being esteemed, because we are living by it. And so it's important that we understand that is what is supposed to be done. Somebody may say, well, I have someone that's living with me that's family or non-family, but they don't reference it. Well, if they're in your home, they are supposed to give reference to it. They are supposed to. It doesn't matter, because remember, they're coming into your abode. They're coming into your bed. So it is up to them to understand that. And if they don't want to live by it, then that means maybe possibly they need to find somewhere else, because you should never relax your standards, and you should never ever break Torah for anybody, because you have to understand this is better than a security system.
Right.
This is the greatest security system you could ever have on your home, when you reverence him, because he promised to take care of everything that's ours, because we are living and abiding by his instructions for our lives. So it's important that we understand those things, and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. As we have come to this portion of our time of class, a time of our confession, and to seal it. But before we do that, as we do have confessions here that he's given me, this is a declaration of our healing even on the Sabbath. And so once again, I believe that miracles are still able to take place, and I believe they're still taking place because of our obedience. I believe that Abba Yah can give us shalom. I believe that he can heal us. I believe that he can do all those things. Why? Because you have to understand, it is in his desire that we be made complete and we be made whole. He doesn't want us sickly. He doesn't want us maimed. He wants us to be complete. He wants us to be whole. That means your ruach, and that means also your physical man.
Right.
And so we can have those things. And so this is a decree for us as the people, or as the children of power on this day. Repeat with me. Abba Yah,
Abba Yah,
in the name of Yahusha,
in the name of Yahushua,
Amashiach,
HaMashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people,
Yisrael.
Yisrael.
We unite
We unite
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now, as we come to seal our prayer and even our confession with the Torah, or with the writings, Let us bow before our King and let us say this together, please. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth,
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 15, and it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence as we go into our study today. Contribution. We are still talking about contribution as we spoke on it on last night in our pre-Sabbath class. Every Sabbath we have a theme, and this portion of our theme is teruma, which means contribution. As we read last night and we saw the detailed outline that Abba Yah had prescribed for us in the writings from chapter 25 all the way to chapter 27, where he gave us a detailed description showing how our ancestors and forefathers were to design and also to build the Ark of the Covenant, also the tabernacle, and very detailed about what was supposed to be used, gold, silver, and for the utensils, bronze was used. And so it is important to us as we read this, once again, never to, just because we may not give gold, and I'm not saying that if you have gold, don't share the gold. If you have it, by all means, send it to a place that you trust and that you know they're going to use it wisely and use it according to the instructions. But once again, because it deals with gold, doesn't mean that now that basically negates us from being responsible for sowing into the building up of a temple or a tabernacle. That does not mean that we have now been opted out of that. It just shows us in great detail how Abba Yah gave them instructions on how to build and how he wanted it and what they were to use, the material they were supposed to use. As I was reading a little more, and I try to bring out as much as I can, as fast as I can. When I look at, we wonder where did they get the wood? Well, some theologians say that while they were in Mitzrayim, they cut some of the wood down while they were there, the Asiya wood. So there are many things, but one thing for sure, we know that they had the wood that he had prescribed for them to have. Not only that, they had pure gold, they had silver, they had the different skins that they were supposed to grab and the things that they were supposed to dye. The colors were blue, purple, and I believe violet. And so everything that Abba Yah gave them, he gave to them in great detail, even with the menorah and how it was supposed to be of pure gold and how it was supposed to be crafted and how the almond blossoms were supposed to be the cups to catch the oil and so forth. And so everything that he gave, it was in great detail. And so it's important to us to understand, as I said before, even in that it gave us a small glimpse into the character, I like to say, of Abba Yah. It showed us how he, I believe with all my heart, likes nice things. Mm-hmm. Now someone would say, well, you know, what does that have to do with anything? Well, it has a lot. We don't want bad things. We want nice things too. Right. And so we want, when we fix things up or when we prepare things, we want it to be nice. And so it's important that we understand that what he gave to them was a meeting place for them. And that as he told them how he wanted the seat of atonement to be created, we know that in the writings it says lid, but it is a seat. That was the place that he was going to meet with them. And so once again, what he gave to them were instructions on how to build the place that he was going to meet with them. Once again, we are here, yes, in America. A lot of people call it other things, but it's important we understand that this is where we live. And because this is where we reside, we know that this is just a place for us for now. But while we are here, we want to make sure that in the place that we are esteeming him and worshiping him, that is a place that is great. It's great. It's nice. It's a place that you want his presence to be. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You want it nice. We want our homes to be nice.
That's right.
We want where we lay our heads to be nice. So it's, to me, and this is my personal opinion, and once again, I don't really give my personal opinion, but this is my personal opinion. Where you go, you want to make sure it's nice. So when we come and we worship Abba Yah, we want it to be nice so we can present a place to you, but also first and foremost to Abba Yah, but also to you. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
It's important that we understand that. So he gave us instructions. Once again, we don't want to use the excuse, well, we're not using gold, so what should we use? Well, what do we use today? We use money.
And it is so.
And it is so. We use money. And it's one of the things that's important for us to understand. And I know a lot of times this can be a really touchy place for a lot of people, because people feel like that they shouldn't be responsible and they shouldn't have to give. Well, I'm going to tell you now, that's the wrong attitude and that's the wrong mentality.
Right.
Because whenever we go out to eat, or if you go out to eat, some people say, well, I don't go out to eat, but you go buy your food and you pay for it.
Right.
You don't just go to Joe Blow down the road and go buy the food from there. I know you don't. Because if you are truly sincere about living right, you're going to go and you're going to ask the butcher, how do y'all butcher y'all meat?
Right.
How do y'all handle y'all meat? How do y'all handle y'all stuff? Why? Because you want to make sure that it's handled in what? A kosher manner.
That's right.
So when it's all said and done, we want to make sure in that same respect that we want the house of Abba Yah, or the Bayit of Abba Yah, to be a place that's nice. And it takes finances. Now understand what I am saying. This is a teaching, and this is what I do. I teach, and I'm showing you and sharing with you what the writings say. I believe that we all should be able to sow and help keep up that place that we learn from, whether it's called a temple or a tabernacle.
Right.
If you are truly being fed from that place, then what is the error, or what is the problem with sowing in that place? Right. Are you following me?
Yes.
Because understand, it takes finances to keep the internet on.
Mm-hmm.
It takes finances to keep the lights on.
Right.
And it's not that anybody is struggling. It's just that these are the things that are necessary. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
They are necessary. And so once again, this is a way, because remember contribution, he said those that were willing. So if you are not willing, then this is not speaking about you or to you.
That's right.
But if you are willing, then it is speaking directly to you. And so once again, you have to understand, Abba Yah is not going to ask us for something we don't have.
Right.
Most of the time, and this is where, once again, let me bring this out to where we are now. Most of the time we say we don't have it because why? We're trying to pay what? Bill. Bill has become a family member to us because he lives with us. Because Bill is going to get paid if don't nobody else get paid. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
Why? Because we're trying to keep what we have.
Right.
So Bill is going to always get paid. And Bill comes in all types of forms. He comes in a car note. He comes in insurance. He comes with house payment. He comes with ministry payment. He comes in all forms. So in order to keep Bill satisfied, what do? We pay Bill first. Now the question comes, is that right? Now many of us ain't going to like it, but it's the truth. No, it's not right. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. And the reason it is not right is because whenever we put ourselves over what Abba Yah has established, we are saying what we trust in. If you trust in him, then you're going to put him first.
That's right.
And that's just the truth.
Yes, that's right.
That's why he said to them, those that are willing. Now let me show you this. All of them had it, but everybody was not willing.
Right.
Everybody was not willing. That is why everybody did not volunteer to give. So once again, if it is not in your heart to do so, then this is not speaking to you.
Right.
Because when you have a heart to give, you're going to find a way to give.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
You're going to find a way to give, just like we find a way to keep clothes on our backs.
Right. That's right.
Just like we find a way to keep food in our mouths. We always find a way when it comes to what is most important to us as a people. We always find a way. And it does not matter because we say we don't have. But I heard that there is no such thing as nothing.
Right.
So if there's no such thing as nothing, then you can never say, I have what? Nothing to give.
That's right.
Because you always have something to give.
That's right.
Are you understanding?
Yes.
You always have something. There's no such thing as nothing.
Right.
Are you understanding?
Yes.
So you always have something to give. So it is important that we understand these things. And when we come to understand these things, watch this, that what we believe and trust Abba Yah for, guess what will happen? It will materialize. Somebody say, for real? Yes, it will. Because you have to understand, Yaakov said it in this manner, belief without works is what? Dead, being alone. If we don't apply it, you will never be able to see it.
That's right.
If you never plant a seed in the ground, you can never say, well, one day some turnip greens are going to come up. Really? Did you plant a seed in there? Well, no, but I just believe. No, until you plant that seed, it's not going to come up.
That's right.
It is important that we follow the system of belief so that we can begin to see the things that he has promised us in writings. Once again, this is developing our belief. This is developing our way of life. Because let me tell you something, one day, and it ain't far away, jobs are going to cease.
That's right.
Money as we know it is going to be nothing but confetti. So what are we going to do when those things happen? This is why it's important that we put our sowing in now. Because we're sowing for not just now, but for our future. You're following me today?
Yes.
This is important for us to understand, because when we understand and we grasp this concept, then when we get something, the first thing we do is say, this is a free seed and I'm going to sow it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That's important for us to understand. Now we know once again, and I'm not saying to neglect yourself, but I am saying is that we have to make a conscious decision. Are we going to believe him and trust him and sow into him? Or are we going to continue to try to do everything our way? And let's see how far we get. Been there, done that. It don't work.
Right.
Because you will never be able to get yourself out of what you already got yourself in.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
If we dig that hole and we fall in it, we in it looking up saying, but I'm going to get out of it. No, you have to understand, if you keep digging, you're going to continue to get even deeper and deeper.
Right, sir.
You have to understand, we've got to trust him. And when we trust him, these are the things that he will bring forth, and he will bring it to us, and he will make it tangible for us. Once again, you got to begin to exercise your belief, and this is what they did because they were willing. If you're not willing, you won't do it.
That's right.
If you're not willing, you won't do it. Are you understanding?
Yes. That's right.
This is important. And so we began to see these things unfold before our very eyes as we saw. And we saw as Moshe gave the instructions, as he was instructed, he instructed the people. Once again, you have to understand, this is Abba Yah asking for a contribution for them to help build a place. In other words, he wanted them to experience ownership. Ownership. See, because when you invest in something, you become what? An owner of what you invest in.
That's right.
Investors understand. That's why they can walk around the way they do, because they understand. You don't understand what I've invested in. That may look like I ain't got nothing right now, but you don't know my investments.
That's right.
And there comes a time when those investments bring what? A yield.
Right.
And when that yield comes, you don't know how much is going to come, but you know it's going to be something that's going to rock the world.
Right.
So it's important that we understand these things. Once again, I believe that when you look at Wall Street, all they did was took things out of the writings and basically manipulated it and constructed to fit their way of doing things. And this is why they do what they do. But you have to understand, Yahuwah is an investor. Yahuwah is an investor.
That's right.
He invests in us, the Ruach HaKodesh.
That's right.
He invests in us. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Life. He invested in us and put us in a place to help us or give us the ability to invest back into him by doing what he's given us to do. He calls us to be the owners of this land that we live on.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Yes.
We are the owners. Right now, we are not walking fully in ownership because it has not been given over to us just yet. But we are owners. So we continue to invest. We are investors. And I can understand once again that when you have invested and you have been, your belief in the system has been shattered, or you have not seen anything. Well, you have to understand, investors understand it takes time for a yield. You don't plant a seed and it come right up the next day. Right. I don't care if you put bone meal, I don't care what you put on it. It ain't coming up the next day. It takes time. Right. There are certain times that seeds germinate. Some seeds germinate 30 to 40 to 60 days. So you realize I sow it, and I know it's going to come up because I sowed it in great ground, and I sowed it according to the instructions. So I know it's coming up. So I'll do what? I move on to something else. And I apply my belief and strength in another place, and I keep on moving. And then when I see that seedling, I say, oh, yeah, here it comes. But even in that, we still have to wait till it's mature to what? Harvest it.
Right.
But the seedling is that gives you the confidence and shows you that what you sowed is coming forward. Now, somebody will say, how could you generate that or bring it into this terms or into this time? In other words, when you know you've been doing and you've been looking for ways and there comes an answer, but that answer is not the finalization of what you need, but it is an answer and it is a doorway to what you've been asking for.
Right.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you understand? It's almost like when you go apply for a job and they call you back. That's the seedling. You follow me?
Yes.
Now, the next part of that is to follow through. Then when you get it, that's another part of the seedling growing. Then when you start reaping from that job, now that's the harvest.
Right.
You follow me?
Yes.
That's what's important for us to understand. Germination time. You can't get discouraged because it doesn't come up right away.
Right.
Everything that's going to be tangible has to take time. The seed in the womb, it takes time. It takes 9 months to germinate, 9 months to develop and then come forth. If that baby comes before time, that means problems can arise. That means something could be undeveloped, and you don't want what Abba Yah has given to you to be undeveloped. Because we try to rush the process. Can't do that. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand. So we see these things, and once again, we saw the artifacts or the utensils in the tabernacle, even the testimony that was to go into the ark, the unity and the oneness of everything that Abba Yah did. Everything he does is to get our attention, to see how he does things. This is important that we understand. He wants us as a people to be a God. He does.
Yes.
That's important for us to understand. Because when we go into a place and when you look at the example and the outline or the blueprint of the tabernacle and even the ark, you see the unity and you see the oneness of everything. You don't have the menorah moving the table out the way. You don't have them in there fussing about who's supposed to be where and where they supposed to be. Are you following me? Even though we know these utensils are not alive, but they serve a purpose for life.
That's right.
The menorah is always lit because it's supposed to always show forth what? Light. We're always supposed to shine regardless of what situation we find ourselves in. I don't care if your heart is broken. I don't care if you're mad. I don't care if you're broke as a joke. I don't care if you got all the money in the world. We're still supposed to shine.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
We're supposed to shine. And these were set in there to show us every time we go in for each article that was placed in there. It is a representation of how we are supposed to govern our lives.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This is what's important. And so we saw these things. And so once again, we're going to continue on in the contributions, but we're going to look at it from another perspective. We're going to look at it from Melachim Aleph, chapter 5. And we're going to start at verse 12. You haven't seen this. Let's read 5.
And Yahuwah gave Solomon wisdom, as he promised him, and there was shalom between Hiram and Solomon. And they both made a covenant together. And King Solomon raised a workforce out of all Yasser. And the workforce was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adon-Iram was supervisor over the workforce. And Suleiman had 70,000 that common laborers and 80,000 stone cutters in the mountains, besides 3,300 officials of Suleiman, which supervised the work. These ruling over the people that labored in the work. And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, let us look at this. This is, I hobble this because it shows, number one, cooperation, and it shows unity, and it shows us workforce. Are you following me?
Yes.
Once again, this is because it shows us, once again, we have to never ever just take the writings and truly misinterpret them and misconstrue them. You have to understand, in order to have great things, you got to have workers, and you got to have people that are willing to work and to not just apply their belief, but also apply their strength and their creative ability.
Right.
Now, and Yahuwah gave Suleiman wisdom as he promised him, and there was shalom between Hiram and Suleiman, and they both made a covenant together. We got to be able to make what? Shalom with people that we know we need to make shalom with. Are you understanding? In other words, we deal with people, and then I'm not saying it this way, so please don't take it in this manner. When I mean that we need to make shalom or have alliances with people that may not always have the belief that we have, but they have what we need or what we want.
That's right.
You have to be able to deal with people. Are you understanding? Outside of your belief system, and be able to deal with them as business.
That's right.
Avenues of business deals and partners. Now listen what he says. And King Suleiman raised a workforce out of Yasrael, and the workforce was 30,000 men. You have to understand, he was able to do that because he had the wisdom, but not only that, they were willing to work for him and with him.
That's right.
When you can have that, that means you can make some stuff happen.
Right.
He didn't have the problem with them saying, wait, who's going to be the head? Who's going to lead us? They already knew, because he had already instructed them or given them what was needed, and so they trusted him. One of the things I thought about early today as I was doing some reading, one of the things came across my mind is that when you are a leader and when you have other leaders, one of the things that we find as leaders, regardless if you are female or male, is the challenge of getting people just to follow and not second guess your moves. That's challenging. And the reason it's challenging, because if you say go forward, go take 5 steps forward, why? Just do what I asked. Are you following me?
Yes.
If I say, or any leader that understands where I'm going with this, or say, I want you to go to the left, and then when you go to the left, I want you to take 5 steps forward, and then I want you to stop right there, and I just want you to wait. Well, why? It's hot out there. I don't see the relevance in that. I don't understand why you want me to do that. Why should it have to be to that extent? Y'all follow me?
Yes.
You know why? Because lack of trust.
Right.
When you don't trust people, you're going to question their every move.
Right.
When you do not trust people, you're going to question what you do. Well, why are you doing that? Okay, well, what's that over there for? Well, what you doing? Why I got to go over there? Why are you sending me over there? That's a lack of trust.
Right.
It is. 30,000 men had no issue with following him. No issue, because they trusted him. That is why they were able to follow him. Listen what he did. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adoniram was supervisor over the workforce. He had one man, and look at how they cycled out. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. Nobody griped and complained.
Right.
Well, I ain't at home with my mishpachah. Well, I ain't got enough of time to do that. How much you gonna pay me? Well, what I get out of this? They followed his instructions, and then they accepted who was the supervisor over the workforce. Are you understanding? Once again, you have to be what? Willing. When you are willing, you will follow, and you won't have issues. Now, I'm not saying you don't ask, But when people ask, sometimes they're not asking because they really want to know. They're asking really sometimes for the sake of argument.
Right.
And that's the truth. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, it's important that we understand. Listen to what verse 15 said. And Suleiman had 70,000 that common laborers and 80,000 stone cutters in the mountains. He had it going on. Are you understanding?
Yes.
He had it going on. He was able to structure a system. But you have to understand, the key thing is that the people were what? Willing.
That's right.
If you're not willing, people won't do it.
Right.
I don't care what you offer. If they're not willing, they won't do it. And this is where you have to ask yourself the question, am I willing? Am I willing? That's the question. That's the question. But he had all these people. And we see once again, now remember, he got this wisdom from who? Abba Yah.
Right.
Just as he gave it to Moshe, he also gave it to Suleiman. And he was able to take that wisdom and he was able to bring forth a force that was able to be, that was able to bring forth everything that Abba Yah placed in him, and even his creative ideas and his creative abilities. It's important because you have to understand whenever, and I say this in this manner, whenever you are with a leader, you have to understand, and I'm not saying you got to understand everything about a leader, but you have to understand the mode of that leader. You have to catch the vision. Are you understanding?
Yeah.
I ain't saying you got to have, which a lot of people say in Christianity, you got to have the leader's Ruach. No, you don't need the leader's Ruach. You need the Ruach Kodesh. Are you understanding?
Yes.
But you have to catch the vision. When you catch the vision, then watch this. Then your willingness becomes even easier because you understand, got it. So this is what I'm supposed to do. And this is how I'm supposed to be a contributor to this. I've caught it. Are you following me?
Yes.
They had to see what he was doing in order to work with him. That's important that we understand that. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Let us read, please.
Verse 16. Beside the 3,300 officials of Suleiman, which supervised the work, these ruling over the people that labored in the work. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and hewed stones to lay the foundation of the temple. And Suleiman's builders and Hiram's builders did cut them, and the stone squares, so they prepared timber and stones to build the temple. Chapter 6, verse 1.
We just go to verse 13. Well, yeah, go ahead. We can read all the way to 13. Go ahead.
Chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Yasarel will come out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the 4th year of Suleiman's reign over Yasarel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the temple of Yahuwah. And the temple which King Suleiman built for Yahuwah, the length was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. And the main hall of the temple was 30 feet long. The corresponding width was 15 feet wide, extending out from the front of the temple. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, in the month Ziph, that just means the 2nd month. That just means the 2nd month. Now, once again, look at how he built this and the measurements and all that. Now, you have to understand, they knew what they were doing. Right. They had to create the tools to be able to give the measurements. Because you just couldn't go up there. I think it should be that long. I think it should be from there to there. Okay, well, how long is from there to there? Okay, well, what are we using? You know, they had to create the tools in order to bring the measurements. You know, they had to create the tools in order to cut the stones perfectly. They had to create all of this. That's why, like I say, we can never underestimate the power of Yah.
Right.
We can never underestimate him giving us a new idea. That's why I always encourage you three, and I always encourage Deshaun with his music, because like I told him, you have to understand Abba Yah has a new sound that he wants to introduce to the Ibram community. A new sound. That doesn't understand when I say new sound. I'm talking about something that he wants to breathe into us. A new sound. A sound that says, yes, this is who I am and this is who we are. Are you following me? I believe that there are still patterns that we can obtain from Abba Yah. I still believe that there are ideas and things and resources that Abba Yah desires to give to us as people, but we ain't in place.
Right.
One, we can't even stop bickering for a good season.
Yes.
So how are we going to get something? And then he has to be able to do what? Trust us with the information. Because some of us are patent it and sell it.
Right.
Y'all follow me?
Yes.
We'll take it. Ooh, I got an idea. I think I ought to sell it. Well, he didn't give it to you to sell to everybody. He gave it to you to work it and to bring it to the children of power.
That's right.
We're the only people, and it's supposed to be, you know, they say black people, but I don't call us black because we're not black. But we're the only people that really don't have our own venue of businesses. Now, I'm not knocking the ones that are up. Please, don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about us as a people to where we come together and we have a network. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
A network that is all around the world. And we follow under one name. And we all are connected to that name. And we all have what it is he's given unto us. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
You have 50 jewelry stores in there. Great, because everybody may want something different. We ain't in there in competition. We in there together to work together.
Right.
Are you following me? You have designers, 50 to 100, possibly more designers. But we're all connected and we're all supporting one another. If we could just learn not to fight each other. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We'd be able to do some great things. And this is about finances. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
It takes finances to build.
That's right.
You have to understand, because he did what? He paid them according to the course. That meant he had money.
Right.
That meant he had some type of commerce. That meant he had something for the exchange. He just didn't go there and say, I want all that wood because I'm a king. He said, now when you go, take this with you. And let them know this is going to be paid in full. Are y'all following me? There was no financing.
That's right.
What's financing? Y'all understand me?
Yes.
I know we do. You know what? We learned a valuable secret. Financing is when you don't have it. I mean, we financed our car. We didn't have the money to outright buy it, so we had to finance it.
Right.
And so now we're constantly paying a bill with a high interest rate. Very crazy, because it doubles the value of the car. Because you have to pay the interest rate, the taxes, plus the principal.
Right.
So by the time you finish, just say you go and buy a car that may be $12,000. By the time they finish with all that, that car is going to double in its amount to 25. You follow me? I do know a little math. It doubles. So that's their way, basically, of penalizing you for not having enough. But if we had it, you wouldn't have to do that. You just outright pay for it, and you owe nobody. That's where I'm striving to get us to where we have debt-free living.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Y'all follow me?
Yes.
To when we pay for, we ain't got to worry about it. No, this is it. I'm done. I don't owe you nothing.
Right.
Yes.
I don't even want to pay the electric people or the water people.
Right.
I'm serious. Because that's a debt. And that's a debt that you never pay off. You're following me?
Right.
Yes.
So you have to understand all this wisdom and these things come from Abba Yah. And he built these things, and look, and once again, he gave the schematics and he gave everything that he needed. And they were willing, and they did. Are you following me?
Yes.
You have to be willing. You have to understand these were people that had that skill. They had the skill. They knew how to do what they do. I've been really putting my hands to building, to carpentry, building tables, asking him to show me, looking up, learning from my ish, and going online, learning how to read the T, and learning how to measure and seeing, because I see things before they're there. I see it before it manifests. And so what I visualize, that's what I look for, and that's what I see. Building tables. Why? Because I want to be able to build. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand all of us have a skill. All of us have skills that are different, and some of our skills are better than others. But the thing of it is how do we take the skills we have and merge them and be able to move as one hand? One hand and able to do, because it takes all 4 of your fingers and your thumb to grip a pen, a fan, a hammer. It takes it all. If you didn't have a thumb, you could only hold it like this. You couldn't get no work done, right? If you didn't have a pinky, you could only grip it like this. You still couldn't get no work done. If you only had this and you didn't have that, you could only do it like this, so you still couldn't get no work done. You need everything on this hand to operate and work together.
That's right.
In order to make something happen. And this is what we are being shown here. Cooperation at its finest.
Right.
And willingness. They were willing to do this with one hand because they understood Abba Yah is with them. So we're going to do because we see what he sees. It's important that we understand that. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
All right. Once again, he gave the measurements and he showed them and they picked it up. You got people that can read that stuff. My Apostle Brown, worked in all fields, and so when he sits there and he gives those numbers, and I'll be like, okay, show me on the number line, show me how you read this, show me these teeny tiny numbers, show me the big numbers, show me all these numbers, show me how to read this, show me how to read that, show me how you were able to cut that, how did you, carve that out, how did you, do that, how do you use a saw, how do you use those things? So I'm learning how to use each one of those things. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Because I want to be multifaceted. I want to build, I want to cook, I want to design. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
To bring to the table. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read.
For the temple he made framed windows, and against the wall of the house he built extensions round about, against walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle. And he made side rooms round about the place. The bottom floor of the extension was 7.5 feet wide, and the middle was 9 feet wide, and the third floor was 10.5 feet wide. For the outer walls of the temple he made offsets, that the beams should be not fastened in the walls of the temple. And the house, when it was built in building, was built with stone made ready at the quarry before they were brought there, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was building. The entrance to the bottom level of the side rooms was in the south side of the temple. There went up winding stairs into the middle floor and out the middle into the third. So he built the temple and finished it and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. And it is up.
And it is so. Now y'all have looked. He made sure there was no noise in the house before they were brought there, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard. He already had everything already planned out. While it was in building. Yes. No noise. It just peaceful or shalom. You have to understand, that's some wisdom there.
Right.
This is what the footnote says. No iron tool was heard at the temple site because iron represents war. And there can be no fighting, quarreling along with worship, praise, and Yahuwah's house simultaneously. So you can't be a quarreler and a worshiper at the same time. Oh, wow. Well, that's 2 to the body and 1 to the head. I tell you the truth. It's amazing. Once again, everything that Abba Yah does, it just shows us. And all we can do is say, help us, Abba Yah, to do better.
Right. Yes.
Because there can't be quarreling and praise in the house. Something like that is so important unto us. Because when you do hear quarreling, it sounds like war.
Right.
It does sound like war. So once again, we don't want that to be sound in the house, because then guess what happens? People think, well, all they do is war. That ain't no place or no house of worship. Once again, it's important that we know how we learn just how to do better, study to do better, and do better. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read. Excuse me.
King Allah 6:10. And then he built an extension all around the temple, 7.5 feet high, and it rested on the house of timber of cedar. And the word of Yahuwah came to Shulamon, saying, concerning this temple which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes and execute my judgments, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will perform my word with you, which I spoke to Daud, your father, and I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Shulamon built the temple and finished it, and he built the walls of the temple within the cedar planks, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling, and he paneled the inside with wood, and covered the floors of the house with planks of fir. And he built a wall 30 feet in from the rear of the temple, both the floor and the walls with planks of cedar. He even built them for within even the inner sanctuary, the most set apart place. And the main hall before the temple was 6 feet long, and the cedar of the house within was carved with round ornaments and open flowers, all with cedar. There was no stone visible. In the inner sanctuary he prepared in the temple within to set there the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. And the inner sanctuary was 30 feet in length, and 30 feet in width, and 30 feet in the height, and overlaid with pure gold, and also covered the altar, which was of cedar.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And you know why he used the cedar and fir, the evergreen? Because those give off a smell. They make it smell awesome. Ayahaba, the evergreen, because it has that awesome smell to it. So when you walked in there, there was always a fresh smell because it naturally gives an aroma. It naturally gives cedar. If you've ever had cedar wood, has a awesome smell, and also it keeps bugs away.
Mm-hmm.
So when he built it, he understood what he was doing, because when you're using wood, you have to be concerned with termites. You have to be concerned with other type of bugs that will destroy the wood.
Right.
And so this is why he used that type of wood, but also it gives an awesome aroma to the building. And like I say, he was very specific in how he built. Now let's look at this right here. This is very important to us. Because in this, you would think out of all that he's doing, now all of a sudden here Abba Yah comes, and this is a warning. This is a warning. This is a warning. And the reason I say it's a warning is because he's getting his attention. Everything is being finalized. Everything is flowing in the way that he has expected it to flow. But now here it is. It's almost about to be finished. Now let's look at this again. Look at this. Let me find it. I missed it. Okay. He gives him a warning. Let me get back. I went up too far. Give me a second. Now, in 11 and 12, everything seems to be going great. And the word of Yahuwah came to Suleiman, saying, concerning this temple which you are building, if you walk in my statutes, in other words, I believe by reading this is that Yahuwah was telling, okay, you're putting this in, and it's going to be elaborate, and it's going to be beautiful. But while you're building this, don't forget to build you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to structure you, your inner man. Don't forget this. Because, see, something I've learned, we can also tend to invest in the outer and forget about the inner. Forget about our ruach. And this is why warning comes. Yahuwah never warns us just for naught.
Right.
This is not a friendly reminder. This is a warning to him. He said, if you will walk in my statutes. The reason he's telling him that is because what happened? We understand his downfall because he forgot the statutes. Right. And execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them. Then will I perform my word with you, which I spoke to Dawood, your Abba. Warning never comes just for naught.
Right.
He was warned because Abba Yah sees the beginning from the end. He already saw what was going to happen to him. And so while he was building, he said, look, don't forget, you got to build you too. You can't forget to invest in your ruach, because when we forget to do that, we open the door for the enemy to come in and to destroy us. That's what happens. Look at verse 13. He said, and I will dwell among the children of Yasrael and will not forsake my people Yasrael. Now once again, and listen what it says in verse 14. So Suleiman built the temple and finished it. Now you have to understand, there was no response back from Suleiman. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
Y'all understand where I'm going with this? There was no response from him. You follow me?
Right.
What should have been the next thing from Suleiman? A response, exactly. He should have given a response. If not, I hear you. And it is so. No response. He just went back on to building. You know why? You have to understand what happened. He said, it almost, you know how we tell people, okay, but then we go on to something else.
Yeah.
But we didn't let what was being said register. It didn't sink in. So if it would have sunken in, the next response should have been, and it is so. I hear you, Abiyah. I hear and I will do.
Right.
But there was no response to the warning. You'll follow me?
Yes.
Whenever there is a warning, and whenever there is a yield sign put in the road for us as the people of Yasrael, we ought to give some type of response that, yes, Abiyah, I hear you and I will obey.
Right.
Or help me to obey. But when there is no response, that means it didn't register.
Right.
You know why I know it didn't register? Because what happened to him? He fell. Right in the midst of him building, Abiyah begins to talk to him. I'm sure as he always did. But he was so caught up in building the temple that he forgot, you got to build this temple first. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
That is important. It's important. Because we can have everything elaborate, but if we all tore up and broke up, then guess what? We won't last.
Right.
We won't make it. And that was his downfall, because he didn't listen and he didn't give a response. He built it, he built the temple, and he finished it. It's almost like, you know, when if somebody's talking to you and they say, I want this, especially, you know, when you have children and they're saying, I'm talking about small children, and they say, Ema, Papa, I want this, yeah, okay, Or we don't answer them at all, we just kind of go on and we hear them, but we really don't, because we don't give them a response that says, I hear you. Because this is me personally, when I'm talking to somebody, I want you to respond, because that lets me know you're listening to me. That lets me know what I said to you, you're responding because you heard it. When you don't, I'm like, did you even listen to what I said? I'm a stickler for that.
Right.
And one of the things I'm a stickler for too, I don't like people shaking their head at me. Especially when you're doing sign language.
Right.
A response says, I hear and I will execute the actions necessary to ensure that I don't fall into this, or that I follow the instructions. And it is so.
It is so.
It is important that we understand that. All right, let us turn our attention to, and that was our Haftorah portions. Now let us go to our Hadasha portions. Let us go into Corinthians Bet, which is 2 Corinthians chapter 9. We're going to go through verses 1 through 15. Chapter 9, verse 1, page 1767. Chapter 9, verses 1. Josh is going to read for me. Come on. You got it?
Jaden, I'm talking about Joshua. I'm looking right at Jaden and I'm talking about Joshua. We're going around, I'm sorry. I got the J's in here. J's rule, come on. Let's do 30, please.
For as concerning the service to the Yasserite Kedoshim, it is necessary for me to write to you. For I know the eagerness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal has provoked many others. Yet have I sent the Yasserite brothers, lest our boasting of you should be in vain in this behalf, that as I said, you may be ready.
And it is so. You read 3 verses? All right. Now let's look at this again. Corinthians. For as concerning the service to the Israelite Kedoshim, set apart saints, it is necessary for me to write to you. He's writing to them. Let's look at verse 2. For I know the eagerness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia or Asia was ready a year ago, and your zeal has provoked many others. Yet have I sent the Israelite brothers, lest our boasting of you should be in vain in this behalf, that as I said, you may be ready. He's talking about them being ready, or you understand, in their ruach,
Right.
being ready as a people.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I boasted about you. I boasted about your steadfastness. But I want to make sure, I want to send somebody there to make sure, that this is still on that, we're still on that same level. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Many times we can go through things, and once again, we're still talking about contribution. We're still talking about us as a people and our unity. Many times we can go through things and we can be ready and then not ready. We can say with our lips we're ready, but we have to be ready emotionally.
Right.
A lot of times we don't like to think about finance, but we do need to be ready financially. It's important that we understand that. And we need to be ready on all sides. No matter what we're dealing with, we have to be ready so that whatever needs to be executed can be executed. Are you following me?
Yes.
It's important that we do that. Now, once again, he said, lest our boasting of you should be in vain in this behalf, that as I said, you may be ready. He said, let me send somebody to you to make sure that y'all are still ready. We want to make sure that you have not lost that eagerness. You have not lost your zeal. You have not lost that fight. You have not lost your belief. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
That's important, once again, because we see a lot of times, once again, people lose their belief. We can assume and we can analyze or try to analyze different things about why a person loses their belief. I believe sometimes it's me personally, once again, I believe that when a people get by themselves or a person gets to themselves and they really don't have anybody, then they tend to build around that system of it's me, myself, and I. And because I have nobody else, I got to fend for me. I got to harbor me. I got to protect me. I got to save me. And I got to do it all with Yahuwah, and Yahushua else was there. And they tend to isolate themselves. You can isolate yourselves mentally and socially before physically.
That's right.
Because you can be in the midst of people and still not be social.
Right.
You can. You can be in the midst of people and detach yourself from them. And so I believe a lot of times when people fall away, it's because they feel like nobody is there, so they have to do it on their own. And so when they do that on their own, basically this is when it ends up themselves and they go on their own. But when you are with a people that you can be encouraged, and you have somebody say, okay, we're going to check on y'all and see what's going on with you. We're going to make sure you're still standing as you were standing. We're going to make sure that you're still ready to do what you had in your heart and mind to do. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
First, you got to be willing, because if you're not willing, you're not going to be willing to give up your substance.
That's right.
If you're not willing to give up your energy and give up your strength, you're not going to be willing to give up your substance. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Because I've yet to see somebody sow, and they don't, first of all, sow some part of them into it, and then sow their finances, their money, their bounty, whatever you want to call it. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand that.
first one reads. Lest the day of Macedonia find ye unprepared, we should be ashamed in the same boasting. Therefore, exhort the Israelite brothers that they will go before to ye and make up beforehand your bounty, whereof you had noticed before the same might be ready as a matter of bounty and not as of greediness. But this I say, he whom sows sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which sows abundantly shall also reap abundantly.
And do so. Once again, if you are not prepared to give of your heart, your soul, and of that, you're not going to give of your finances.
That's right.
Because wherever your heart is, there will be your what also?
Treasure.
Your treasure. So wherever your heart is, that's your treasure, and you're going to make sure you sow. Once again, he said, look, don't have us be embarrassed and we come here and y'all not ready to do what you said you're going to do.
Right.
Let me put it like we had gone, and this was in Christianity. You go to places and will minister, and you know, you would tell people, or people would say, boy, that's a place you go, and they will baruch you well. You know, they will do, and then you go, well, this time we only have but $20 to give you. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
And it takes more than that to get there.
Right.
You don't ever do anything. Now understand, we don't ever give the besor for money, but at the same time, it takes money to prepare packages.
Right.
Y'all follow me?
Yes.
You don't just put the stuff in there and say, okay, post people. Can y'all to them for me? Then yeah, you got some stamps to put on there. We'll send it gladly. We'll get it to them for you in the time frame you need it, but you got to be able to put the postage stamp on there. Y'all follow me? Just using that as an example. But you have to be willing. Now listen what he says. What he says. He says now in verse 4, lest they of Macedonia come with me and find you unprepared. We that we say not you should be ashamed at the same confident boasting. Therefore, I thought it necessary to exhort the Israelite brothers that they will go before to you and make up beforehand your bounty, whereof you had noticed before, that the same might be ready as a matter of bounty and not as of greediness. Are you understanding? It's not about being greedy. It's just about meeting that need.
Right.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
If the need is what it is, or what is supposed to be put out there, then that's what it's supposed to be. You don't change it, but it's not about greediness. And a lot of times when you ask people for a certain thing, the first thing people get in their mind, they're just being greedy.
Right.
Why would you say that? Once again, you got to understand, when people don't understand structure, and they don't understand. Once again, when you're dealing with systems, and you're dealing with different makeups and buildings and so forth, you're going to deal with different types of finances.
That's right.
You have to understand, we are not small. Are you following me?
Yes.
I don't know what small is. You have to understand, you can have 50 people and only one person cooperate. Right. So who's really the larger or who's really the smaller?
Right.
Because number is not what makes a people. What makes a people is their akkad.
That's right.
Their unity. That's what makes a people strong. You can have 5 strong people, and other people have 100, but only have 2 people. You still outweigh them. Why? Because when you put it on the balance, it's only going to be 2 that really weighs up, and you're 5. Y'all follow me on the balancing scale? So that's what makes the strength, not the number, but the participation of those that are with you.
That's right.
And if you don't participate, that's what makes the balance uneven. So now listen what he says. It's not about being greedy. And a lot of times people think that when you say, and especially when people, and I say this and I don't say it to be funny, but people think that if you send, $100 or whatever, that's a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. Now, y'all have to understand what I'm saying. When you're talking about sending out packages, when you're talking about printing up information, I go to a printer in a day. Ink in a day. Yes, I do, with the information that I print up. But you have to understand, it takes more than that when you want to send out those booklets, when you want to send out those things. You can't just take that and say, well, I'm going to send it out, and you don't have the finance to send it out. So if somebody sends 100, Well, they ought to be able to do a lot for the cartridge that's almost $30. That's now you go pay, that's 8%, what? That's $30 and what, 80 cents, a dollar and something, 28 or whatever. When you pay for it, it's gonna be 30 more. 32.40. That's not $100 left now. Now you have 60 something dollars left. That's 68 something left. Yeah, dollars left and some change. Now you gotta get paper. Paper is about 3 or 4. You ain't going to go get no what 100 sheets. You got to get about 500 sheets. So that's about $4 plus tax. By the time you get to buying that, you done chipped away from that. By the time you say, okay, now I'm gonna get this and get that, you have basically burn up that $100. You'll follow me. Yes. So now when it comes time to put it in that package, and you say, now I'm gonna send it, it's gone because it's been all invested towards the package. So understand what I'm saying here. I'm saying that we can get an understanding of finances in the kingdom. Mm-hmm. We are born again believers and walking in truth that finances are still not needed. Right. Ministries that just as I'm saying say the same thing but say it in a different manner, and they say it in a closed session. I'm saying this openly because many people are not committed. So because you're not committed to any place, you don't feel responsible. Y'all follow me? Right. Yes. But you eat. Exactly. When you don't feel responsible.
That's right.
Y'all follow me?
Yes.
Y'all sure? When you connect, you make yourself responsible and when people relationships, you want to date, you want to court, you want to smooch, you want to do all that, but you don't want to covenant. Y'all follow me? Yes. And they're out there because we know that's what's going on. You want the benefits of a married life, but you don't want the covenant of marriage. Right. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Same thing with ministry. When you don't covenant with ministry, you don't feel responsible and obligated to support and undergird it. That's right. So that's why people do what they do. It's the truth. Right. And Rabbi Shaul said, we're going to deal with this. He said, because I don't want to be made to look bad, and I boasted in y'all on your own. Do what you say you're going to do. Are y'all following me? Yes. And this is why a lot of times people do what they do. This is why I do what I do, because I still believe with all my heart that we can be a people, and this is just my personal desire, is that when we set up functions, the only thing that I expect people to do is get here. Now that may be just me. But I believe that when people when we put on a function, I believe that you get here, I have everything ready. Right. Mm-hmm. Everything. Your phone. Mm-hmm. I got your living space. For how long? I'm looking at some property now, trying to figure out how to get it. So that when you make it, we got a place to house you. Mm-hmm. So we have something, and we say, okay, we're going to have this feast on land. Well, I can get there. Okay, come home. Make sure you can get in and you can get back. Mm-hmm. And that's all you got to be concerned about, because we're going to make sure you eat, you have clothes. Mm-hmm. You follow me? Yeah. Then we're going to make sure you get back. Why? Because you have to understand, everybody's not cylinder cars. And you got 8-cylinder cars that's only not hitting on what, 7? Because one is knocking, so you still getting around. You got 4 cylinders, but only 3 are operating. So you see it. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to be able to come in, help you, strengthen you, give you the necessary impartment. Impartment. Are you understanding? Yes. Impartation that brings transformation. So that when you leave from us, you are transformed. And when you get back to your destiny or your destination, you're able to take what you've learned, apply it, and do better.
That's right.
And do better. That's what this is about. That's what I can say we are about.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. But it takes fight. Yes, it does. To be able to do that and be able to have people come. And because there's a lot of us, believe it or not, going. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
a lot of us are struggling. And I say us because we are a God.
That's right.
I ain't gonna say, well, y'all struggling. I ain't struggling. We struggling. Because if you struggle, your struggles become my struggles.
Right.
That's right.
Are you following me? Yes. It's important for us to understand that. But you got to understand, though, once again, you people, if you don't have it, to do it.
Mhm.
And then people have to ask for it. I never move off of assumption.
Right.
Because assumptions, I can tell you personally, can hurt you and break your heart. Been there, done that. I ain't going through that no more. So once again, you have to ask. And then we do whatever we can to make it tangible, to make it happen. Because that's what we're supposed to do as a mishpachah.
That's right.
When you rejoice, we rejoice. When you cry, we cry. When you hurt, we're all supposed to be hurt.
That's right.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Are y'all following me? That's the way it's supposed to be. And that's the way we're supposed to structure it. So once again, he's bringing to them, excuse me, this, because once again, this is a part of our lifestyle. And it is necessary.
That's right.
As long as money is needed and tangible and it has value, we know it's fiat money. We know there's no gold or silver backing it. But I promise you, you put a bunch of it in a bag, you believe it's got some gold behind it. Because you got folk that'll bump heads and be ready to beat you half to death behind a bag of money. Right. Oh, yeah. So once again, we understand. And it's important that we utilize it to be helpers one to another. Yes. And I'm a firm believer. I'll tell people I don't have it, but if I have it, I don't have a problem with sharing. I don't, but if I don't have it, I don't have it. All right. Now let us read. Did we read verse 6? But this I say, he whom sows sparingly shall reap also sparingly. I'm sorry. And he which sows abundantly shall also reap abundantly. Now let's get this. Let's look at this real quick. You have to understand what sparingly means. Sparingly does not mean in small increments. It means that you sow this month and 2 months go down the line and then you sow again. It doesn't mean the amount. It means the consistency of your sowing. And those who sow bountifully, in other words, they sow consistently. Even if it's a small amount, they are consistent. Yeah. That's how that goes. A lot of times people think that means the amount. You could sow $1,000 and never sow again, and it still is not really sowing. That's just giving one time. Right. But sowing is a consistent process.
That's right.
You follow me? Yes. That's consistently. We put gas in our cars consistently, or what'll happen? We run out and be on the side of the road. We put food in our freezer and our refrigerators, what? Consistently, so we don't be what? Hungry. We put, are you understanding me?
Yes.
We maintain, or we will be hungry, or we will be without. We have to do these things consistently. Right. And see, we're able to maintain. He's talking about don't one time and no more. It is a consistent, a consistency. You do it consistently.
That's right.
All right. Let's look at verse 7, please. Just 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because we're going to 15.
Let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not of necessity. For Yahuwah loves a joyous giver.
Let's look at these two. Each man should give just as he desired in his heart. In other words, whatever you purpose, maintain that. Maintain that. Don't change that. If you purpose to give, consistently give that. So let him give not grudgingly. In other words, you give, you don't want to. Or of necessity. In other words, you're being made to do it. You are being browbeaten. You are being forced to do so. That is not how you are supposed to do it. Yeah. You know, they were beaters when it came down to giving. You know, you were going to die if you didn't give. Well, I'll say this, we suffer when we don't give. Right. It's just the truth. We are all examples of that, or we all have suffered or experienced that at one point in our lives, that when you don't give right, you will suffer behind it. Right. You will. And it's just the bottom line. But you don't want to give grudgingly because now, well, dang it, I'm tired of your mess, and I just go ahead on and give it, shoot. Or of necessity, you're being made to give it. Well, dang, they made it, so I better just go ahead on and give it. Now look what it says. For Yahuwah was a joy giver. In other words, we ain't got no issues. That's what you ask for. I'm gonna keep doing it. Because this is what I have to do. Because it makes him. Because this is what he has. Are you following me?
Yes.
This is what he has. So I'm sound like I'm saying Calvin and Hobbes. I remember the little article, the little comic strip. But the thing of it is, because this is what he. Are you understanding? Pleasing to him. All right, let's read.
Verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahuwah is able to make all mercy that you always have in all you need in every way. Have plenty for every great work. Verse 9. As it has been written, he scattered abroad, he gave to the poor, his righteousness remains forever. Verse 10. And he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food shall supply and increase the seed you have sown, and increase the fruit of your righteousness.
Go ahead and read verse 11 because it goes with it.
Okay. Being enriched in every way for all simplicity, which works out thanksgiving to Yahuwah through us.
And it is so. Now look at verse 8. And Yahuwah is able to make all esteem toward us. Are you understanding? In other words, he will give us those things in places that we really shouldn't have it. That we shouldn't get it, but he will make it abound towards us. That you always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every great work. To abound means to get above. Right? So when you abound, to get above, to get high. In every great work. That means anything we do and we put our hands to, this is what is supposed to be the outcome of it. As it is written, he has dispersed abroad into the poor, his up remains forever. It remains forever. Now you have to understand, he gives to the poor. Do the poor remain poor?
No.
Absolutely not. They don't remain poor. Because you have to understand, whenever Abba Yah gives to you, you can't remain. He's never going to always do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever what? Ask or think. Tell us that the poor will be with us all. I believe that's talking about Yasrael. No, I don't. I believe that when he gives to us, we change. Why? Because if we're able to abound to all good works, that means we can't remain poor.
That is right.
Because if you're poor, you can't abound to all great works. That means your status changes. Because when he gives you, he's also going to show you how to take that and utilize it, multiply it, and expand. Are you understanding?
Yes.
We ought to never stay poor. If we do it, it's because of a lack of discipline. Are you following me? We never are to eat our seed. You have, I think we have 4 systems, I believe, or 3. First, you give to Abba Yah. You take care of your needs or your bills. And then you take care of you. 3. So when you do those things, you will never lack. But if we always take care of us and then try to take care of our needs, guess what? We're going to always come up at the stick. Always come up with the short end of the stick. Because you have to understand, he's the one, when it gets into his hand, it multiplies. And it gets in places and goes in areas that we continue to encourage you. 3, continue to give. Don't stop giving. Are you following me? And I'm not saying that you have, but continue to give. Just don't stop giving. You follow what I'm saying? We can never stop giving. We all give and continue to give. Right. Watch this. Even when you can't give, have you ever heard of sweat equity? Anybody ever heard of that?
Yes.
Sweat equity. Sweat equity is when you work it off. That's what they did. They worked for basically their pay. Basically, their work was their pay, or was their due service or their due diligence. And that's how they were able to do until they were able to get tangible finance in the hand. We've had to do it. Sweat equity. And that's how you basically get what you need. Are you following me?
Yes.
You have to understand, he'll give us ways and he'll give us ideas to where we're able to regroup and make things happen. Once again, we never remain poor when we're with him. He that supplies seed to the sower supplies lakim for your food and multiplies your seed sown and increases the fruit of your uprightness. Once again, let's look at each one of these words. Now, he that supplies seed, sower, who supplies seed, Abiyah. Both supplies lakim. He supplies our food. Look at the word multiplies. That's not just multiply. Multiplies is plural. Are you understanding me? Yes. So in multiplying, he multiplies it again, and he multiplies it again to where it continues. Multiplies is plural. He doesn't multiply on time. He continues. Look at what it says. Your seed sown. Right. And increases. Increases is another word that says we cannot remain the same. The fruit of your uprightness. That means that my lifestyle and the way I conduct myself will change and increase for the better.
That's right.
Everything he does brings us into a way of increasing us and bringing us up out of the situation that we were in. Exactly. Promotion. Now listen what it says in verse 11. You will be enriched in every way so that you may be generous on every occasion, which produces thanksgiving to Yahuwah. You will. That means he has empowered us. That means he has empowered us. That means he has empowered us to do this. You will be enriched in every way, not some ways, every way, so that you may be generous on every occasion. That we may be generous on every occasion, not just some, every occasion, which produces thanksgiving through us to Yahuwah. That's what I'm striving for.
That's right.
Truly, that's what I'm striving for. Because you want to be able to go and do. They said, well, it's $1,000. Well, we know what you're doing. Okay, we got it. No problem. You know, no issue. Pull it out. That's like $10. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
You want to pull it out like that.
Right.
And I believe that we can have it like that. We just got to have discipline, and we just got to continue to do what he's told us to do. Are y'all following?
Yes.
All right. Now let's read. 12, 13, 14, 15.
For the administration of this service not only supplies the need of the Yasodite Kedoshim, but is overflowing with many thanks to you, to power. While by the experiment of this service, they esteem Yahuwah for your professed subjection to the Besor of Mashiach, and for your liberal distribution to them and to all men, and by their prayer for you who long for ye with the exceeding esteem of Yahuwah in you. Thanks be to Yahuwah for his unspeakable gift, and it is so.
And it is so. For the administration of this service not only supplies the need of the Yisraelite Kedoshim, set apart saints. Once again, this helps us to help what? Those that have needs. But is overflowing with many thanks to power. While by the experiment of this service, they beautify Yahuwah for your professed subjection to the Besor, good news, of Mashiach, and for your liberal distribution to them and to all men. See, once again, every joint supplies, but we can't supply till we get this system. I can see it like, you know how you have the water wheels, and how the wheel turns and the water pours out and it pours into something else and it activates something else and then it activates something else, then it activates something else, then it activates something else, and it activates something else, and it keeps it going and going. That's the way as the children of power we're supposed to be.
Right.
With all of us, not just a few, not just with the people we deal with.
Right.
Not just our few and no more, not just our groups and then that group. That means it's supposed to be a system that we're supposed to be. It's almost like checks and balances. We're supposed to be able to have that. Once again, if we could just learn to get together and do these things and it not be, well, you know, I'm bringing 1,000, you only bringing $1. It's still money.
Right.
Are you understanding me? And it's still going to do the same thing.
That's right.
Spend. Spend, exactly. So it's important that when we come together and do these things, that we look at the greater picture. Once again, contribution. This is what the theme was for this Sabbath rest, and it will come in a time as we bread. You know how much money actually we saved during this time?
Yes.
Because we weren't out buying food.
Right.
We're making sure we weren't buying nothing with no leaven in it. Now, you know, there were some things we had to pick up. But for the most part, we saved money.
Even the ones we used to buy.
Yeah, even the amounts we used to buy, now we fix it ourselves. You know, so you save money because you don't have to buy. Also, you have to look at even the Sabbath rest. The Sabbath rest is also a time for your money to rest.
Right. That's right.
Because this is the day that people spend the most money
Oh my gosh.
on the Sabbath. We used to spend money. We used to spend a lot. We used to spend more than we thought we had. You start thinking, I don't have no money. Go look at what you bought. You have money. You just investing in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
We have more money than we really know we have. It's just sometimes lack of discipline in our spending. Are you following me?
Yes.
We just learn how to spend. I'm not saying don't get your needs. I'm not saying every now and then don't get your wants, because there are things I want and I'm gonna get it when I want it. But I have to take care of that what is priority first. I gotta take care of my bills first. And I'm a stickler for getting my bills out the way. Are you understanding? Because I want him to trust me with more, and I also want my ish to trust me with more. Are you following me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So as he increases, guess what? I increase.
Mhm.
And that means more spending power.
That's right.
You know, following me?
Yes.
Yes.
Every nickel, every penny, every dime. You know? And it is so.
And it is so.
This is what we do. Are you understanding? And it is so. And it is so. Come on, put your hands together. Let's sing here. And it is so. And it is so. As we've come to this time, the close of our class, I want to say to you, I pray that Abba Yah continues to enlighten you and continues to minister to your heart during this time, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which we are on the seventh day. I am excited about what he's going to continue to say and continue to do unto us as people. Once again, I want to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong. Also, I want you to remember, take this time to rest as you have gotten your daily portion, I believe, of the writings. Take this time to rest. Take this time to let what you've heard germinate. Let it begin to produce and take roots in your ruach. And that way you are able to produce the very things that the writings, the scrolls have given unto us, the children of power. Once again, I pray Abba Yah continues to baruch you this day. In this our time of Feast of Unleavened Bread. Once again, tomorrow is the 8th day, and it will be a time of celebration. Don't hurt yourself. Eat in moderation. Don't try to make up for what you didn't eat, but just enjoy yourself. And I pray Abba Yah continues to baruch you. I am Prophetess Sabrina Brown, also Moral 777, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah, Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, this is the place where
The Torah does the body excellent.
Until next time, may Abba Yah baruch atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. I also want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside.